What are the things you can do right now to be prepared for phase 2? Because it was just announced to be coming on February 8th, and there's a lot of ways you can utilize your time right now to set your characters up for success as soon as the new phase launches. Not only for leveling up to level 40 and 40 content, including the raid, but also to have enough gold or consumables or anything you need to be prepared for the next phase. So today we're going to break down everything you need to know, from the most simple tips to the most try-hard tips, to make sure you're absolutely prepared for phase 2. Now, the first and probably most obvious thing is to start pre-questing. Pre-questing has been a thing every single time there's been a level cap increase in World of Warcraft. And what it is essentially is filling up your entire quest log with 20 quests that you can turn in very quickly to be able to set yourself up to be at a higher level and basically enter into whatever the next content is. This is the fastest way to get started in phase 2. And if done correctly, you can get all the way up to level 28 or even 29 within the very first hour of phase 2 launch if you have done this perfectly. Now, I'm currently working on routing guides for both Horde and Alliance to be able to get you all the way up to 28. So those videos will be out soon, but there's a ton of other videos out already that have everyone's individualized and personalized quest stacks. But on top of filling out your entire quest log with quests themselves and planning out your route for turning in those quests, you can also make sure to pick up some of the quest items that you can loot around the world that can just sit inside your bank, and you can just take them out the day before phase 2 launch and be able to just accept the quest and turn them in right away. And if you've already done all your quests for gold, don't worry. Blizzard has already stated that there will be alternatives to being able to quest in any of these zones. So if you've already done all of your quests, don't worry. But if you haven't, definitely start looking into a quest stack. And even if you're only quest stacking on your main character, if you want to be prepared for level 40 and want to play any of the other classes, then make sure to take the time that we have now, because we have an extra month, to just level up your alts. Leveling up your alts now puts you in a very solid position to be able to easily level them up to 40 in the earlier stages of phase 2. This means you'll actually be able to play any of the classes you want in phase 2 if you haven't already gotten them leveled. And on that note, definitely make sure they have their professions leveled up. It's very cheap to do all of them from the auction house, and you should be planning ahead for phase 2 because professions will most likely be incredibly important in phase 2. As we all know, we got the new epic gear from our main professions this phase, and we can bet that we'll probably have something like that every single subsequent phase. This means that if you want to get that epic gear at level 40, then you might as well already start stocking up on materials to level up your professions all the way up to 225. And that's because we can bet that 225 will be the level cap. I think everyone has come to a general consensus that 225 will be the cap, and you can actually get all of the materials right now to be able to level those up instantly as soon as the phase hits. And if you don't have it already, you might as well level up a profession alt, mainly an enchanting alt. What this is just get a character to level 5, and then every time you find a green that's not worthy of selling on the auction house, you just send it over to this alt and it can disenchant it. There is no level requirement in Classic to be able to disenchant things. All you need to do is just have the profession enchanting, and then you will have permanent and infinite mats to enchant your gear as you get upgrades in phase 2. You probably noticed the staggering difference of having a fully geared out raid character and having a freshly dinged level 25. That's because some of the gear from the BFD raid is so good that it would actually be pre-best in slot at level 60. You would even use them into Molten Core and a little bit beyond. So having this gear more than doubles your damage and survivability, meaning that you will also level up twice as fast because you do twice the amount of damage. And with that being said, you can also pre-plan out some of the gear you're going to get on your leveling process. So take a look at your class and maybe take a look at the auction house and kind of grab some cheap gear that will absolutely help you level up faster, because having more gear just naturally translates to content being easier and you moving faster in the leveling process. Now, if you're not in the mood to do some sort of grind right now, you kind of want to sit back, relax, and do something that does actually help you move forward in the next phase, then you might as well just run around the world and get any of the flight paths that you will need in phase 2. These are things like the Desolace or Teneris flight paths that are way out of the way, but they're really easy to just kind of get done right now and will save you ridiculous amounts of time in the next phase, because when it's time or your guide tells you to head to that zone, you can just fly there instead of having to run all the way there again. And on that note, if you want to make things easy, I always suggest having a leveling guide. And my favorite one is, of course, the Rested XP guide. If you aren't using it already, the guide is completely free up to level 20, so it's really nice to be able to check it out. But this guide will just give you an arrow and tell you exactly where to go for all of your quests. You can also make sure that it includes going to some of the dungeons on your questing route to get you to level 40 as fast as possible. It's also been updated for Season of Discovery to be able to show you exactly where to find any of the runes that you're looking for. So not only will it tell you in-game exactly where to find those runes, but it'll also give you a suggested level of the content to be able to unlock that rune. And this can of course vary between your leveling routes. Some runes can be unlocked at lower levels for specific races and higher levels for any of the other races. So it's easy to know and perfect to have just all in one place to just click on it and have it send you an arrow and give you a written guide in game exactly where to find your runes or where to go to level up next. And of course, you know by now the full guide does cost money, and there's a discount code of course in the description, but it honestly is just so well done. And if you get it once, you will have it updated for the entirety of Season of Discovery. They are going to be consistently updating it for every single phase to make sure that you have the fastest leveling route possible and to make sure that you never miss a rune. And what about some of the things you can do right now so that right as you hit level 40, you can unlock new runes as well as have some best in slot gear right away? And that of course would be reputations. Now, starting with gear in particular, if you get to Exalted with the Warsong Gulch reputation, which takes a long time if you don't have premates, then you will be able to unlock some best in slot bracers right at level 40. And of course, on your way to Exalted, you unlock things like necklaces, rings, and cloaks, which will all have upgrades at the next level cap. So prepare for level 40 to instantly get some new rings, a new necklace, and a new cloak from this reputation. Now, if PvP isn't your favorite way to play the game, you don't want to fight against a ton of wind serpents, unkillable priests, or premades, and you just want to grind a very simple and relaxing rotation, then the next one you should focus on is the Waylaid Supplies. Every single class unlocks a rune from the Waylaid Supply vendor, and we most likely will have a new rune at every single level cap at the next level of reputation. This means I would get ready to farm all the way up to Honored with the Waylaid Supplies vendor, or get it done right now so you can already unlock the rune right as we start phase 2. But if you're gonna prepare for this, then you might as well actually not turn in all of these supplies just yet to get the reputation, because we don't know, and Blizzard has hinted that the Waylaid Supplies might give extra reputation moving into phase 2 to help subsidize people that actually did all of their quests already. And this would mean turning in a full inventory of the supplies to get a ton of reputation will not only help you out in getting your next rune, but it could even level you up once or twice right as phase 2 drops. But again, this is purely speculation, and I wouldn't bank on it being a very good way for you to level, but just know that it might be a significant amount of XP turning all of these in right as phase 2 drops. Now, if you farmed reputation with Warsong Gulch or Ashenville, whatever it is, you probably also have already gotten rank 2, at least in the PvP system. But make sure to at least grab rank 3 on your main character, because not only will there be new gear in the next phase that will probably be your pre-best in slot or best in slot, but phase 2 will also unlock some higher ranks of the PvP system, which you can bet that Blizzard is preparing to give you some sort of useful rewards for. So download something like the add-on Ranker, which will tell you exactly how much honor you need to farm to hit the next rank up. And just note, there is literally no decay in Season of Discovery. All you need to do is farm up the ranks one time. Now, what are some of the things the super tryhards are gonna do? What is the max ways that you can prepare? And let's just dive through these really quickly. First of all, every 3 Warsong Gulch marks you turn in can give you 1200 experience. This means that tryhards will not only have the max of 20 in their their inventory. But for every Warsong Gulch win you have, when you have 20 already in your inventory, then those marks will be sent to your mailbox, and they will only last for 24 hours. So the tryhards will be doing a ton of pre-mades the day before the phase launches. Just prepare for this. This is going to be like a crazy amount of people stacking pre-mades in Warsong Gulch. You can do this yourself, but you will almost guaranteed go up against a pre-made every single match. On top of that, make sure you have fresh world buffs. Specifically, I'm talking about the Dark Moon Fair buff. Make sure to grab that before the launch of the next phase, but also the boon of the Black Fathom buff. 20% movement speed from this is going to be so incredibly useful for not only completing more quests, but also turning in your quest stack. But we also don't know if this buff will persist into the higher levels, so don't bank on it 100%. Just know having increases in movement speed will significantly increase your experience gains. And on that note, if you're a tryhard, why don't you just have an incredibly high amount of movement speed potions? Swiftness pots have a ridiculously short cooldown, and they can be absolutely used to make sure that you're leveling up incredibly quickly in phase 2. Having a ton of these stacked up in your inventory will just be so convenient and make any of your runs a lot easier. But if you're min-maxing, you might even pop them every single time you land from a flight path or anything like that. And of course, these aren't the only consumables you're going to be wanting. If you are doing a dungeon cleave group, you will absolutely want to stack up on things like health potions, mana potions, and definitely get things for AoE like heavy dynamite. Dynamite and target dummies can be used by the entire group when you pull the entire instance of something like RFK or Scarlet Monastery or Stockades and blow it all up instantly to be able to leave and reset the dungeon and enter again to just level up at ridiculous rates. Of course, if you're doing this, you probably know which dungeons you will be doing to level up. Alliance can use Stockades early on and then move into RFK or Scarlet Monastery. And if you're Horde, you probably turn in your quest stack and then instantly head over to RFK. Or if you have some crazy summons, I guess you could do Stockades, but you can instantly go to RFK or Scarlet Monastery right away. And with that, I think that's literally everything you could focus on to prepare right now for phase 2. You can get all of these things accomplished in the next few weeks outside of stacking up those Warsong Gulch marks in your mailbox. And like I mentioned, I am working on an in-depth video for both Horde and Alliance for adding their quest stacks. And those will probably release early on the YouTube channel members, but outside of that, they will be released with ample time for everybody to get full quest stacks on all of their characters to be ready to get at least 2 to 3 levels right as phase 2 launches. Thanks for watching, guys. My name is Sarthe, and of course, make sure to like and subscribe, or let me know in the comments if I missed anything, like there's any other thing you can do to prepare. But I will try to keep you all up to date on everything Season of Discovery as we move forward into phase 2 and beyond.